We've got Los Angeles at Tampa Bay, 3 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. Are you looking forward to this game more than you're looking forward to the Packers San Fran game? Probably not, because you want Aaron Rodgers to lose in a horrific fashion, right?
Let me tell you something. We're going to get into that San Fran Green Bay game, but yes and no. It's the matchup for me based on how the Rams have been playing for the last couple of games in the season versus, of course, TB12. You're talking about the best quarterback of our time, of our generation, and his continued success that he's had in the pre, post, and regular season versus a very hungry, very prepared, and healthy Rams team that can definitely knock them off. Tom Brady doesn't have all of his weapons. Fournette's going to be out with a hamstring injury. Evans is going to have to shoulder a lot of that workload, and his O-line not as strong as it is usually. The Rams can very, very much sneak into this game and win this for sure.
They might have Leonard Fournette back.
They might have Fournette back? Okay.
I
checked today. It said he was still out on the IR with hamstring, but in terms of being able to run the ball, like we say in January, like you need to be able to do, he's going to be a huge factor whether or not he plays.
There's a conspiracy that they're just holding him on the IR and they're going to activate him before the game. There is a good chance that Leonard Fournette will play in this game, and they're going to fucking need him. The Tristan Wirfs injury does concern me a little bit. I think if this game does go south and you point to something where Tampa Bay could lose, I think that's a significant weakness, right? It's like...
Absolutely. You're forcing Fournette to go left more now because the protection's not there on the right side. Even if he does play, it makes for a very interesting matchup because you have to change your play style based on your manning. So I'm very interested in this. You got Tom Brady going into his what is this? How many seasons has he played? 20 plus. He's going into He's going into the postseason with a 95 plus rating as a quarterback. What are we talking about here?
He has a 95 plus passer rating in 6 of his past 7 games, including the playoffs.
Absolutely ridiculous.
That, and then, against the Eagles, he was averaging 7.3 yards per pass. It's kind of interesting, this offense, because I guess it's Mike Evans first, Gronk. He had 5 catches for 39 yards, and I think he had a touchdown as well. And then it's whoever's playing running back.
Absolutely.
As of right now is Giovanni Bernard, but it could also be Leonard Fournette as well. Like Cameron Brate, I think, is a really great tight end. I think they're deep with their offense. It's just it's crazy to think that they can still put up 31 points and they're missing Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin from the lineup. Like it's wild to think about.
It's a scary package when you have a 2 tight end package like Gronk and whoever's on the other side, because Gronk is a legend in and of himself. But yeah, you put Gronk and Gronk and Brate, they're their own X factors by themselves. So like I said, Fournette playing, Fournette not playing, you have to change your game plan. But with Fournette playing, it's a very interesting game because you have Cooper Kupp, like we said in the previous podcast, he had almost 2,000 yards by himself. When you talk about him being able to get free, the other teams double teaming him midway to later on in the season and him still being able to put the numbers up that he had him by himself, that's going to be a problem. OBJ on the other side, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
How about the quarterback, Matt Stafford?
Matt Stafford is
he's trying to prove some stuff. He's trying to prove that he's been a quarterback who's been legit for a while now. He won his first playoff game. Good for him. And now he gets a chance to go into Tampa and maybe shake some things up. If you're going to counter Mike Evans, it's Jalen Ramsey, right? But
for sure,
it's funny because the Rams aren't very good covering wide receivers this year. So in terms of yards, they were 29th. Receptions, they were 30th. And for touchdowns allowed, they were tied for 2nd in the league for wide receivers, opposing wide receivers. So, and then they're like middle of the pack against if you pass to a running back or a tight end, the defense is somewhere in the middle of the pack. So they play a little bit better there.
14th or 15th or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now what they do well, the Rams, they get a lot of interceptions. They were tied for 3rd this year. They had 19 interceptions. If Tristan Wirfs is hurt, the guy that's going to be on that side of the line is Von Miller. And Von Miller looks like 2015 Von Miller.
Very hungry, very scary.
Yeah, it is very scary. This is not a front that I would want to see if I'm Tampa Bay in the divisional round. I think the Rams are a NFC championship caliber team.
Not only that, but you mentioned 2 out of 3. I had completely forgotten about Von Miller and his addition late in the season. Of course, Jalen Ramsey, one of the greatest cornerbacks in the history of the game. You still have Aaron Donald on the defensive line, and I don't see Tampa Bay having too much success running the ball. There's a reason why they're legends, and I think Tom Brady's going to have his hands full against them in this game. I really love Tom Brady. You know how I feel about Tom Brady. I think the legacy that he comes with, I think he'll be able to eke this one out. We'll see.
I love Tom Brady too. I also love Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford has a lot more to prove than Tom Brady does, but at the same time, Tom Brady, all he cares about is winning, right? So
absolutely
trying to justify why a 46, 47-year-old quarterback can still play in this league, which is mind-boggling in itself. I guess on the other side of the ball, if you're talking about the Bucs defensive front, they're no slouches either, right?
Not at all.
They were banged up in their secondary, but their secondary's actually played pretty well in the past few weeks. So
with the injuries that they've had.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But an interesting thing about Matt Stafford, against the blitz, he's the best quarterback in the league as far as passer rating is concerned. When opposing teams blitz him, he has a 139.6 quarterback rating. A perfect score is 156.8. Yeah, that's just
damn near perfect.
Now, if they pressure him, it's a little different. He falls to like 20th in the league. And they can do that. They've got Vita Vea up front, and Ndamukong Suh is up there. They can get pressure on Matt Stafford. What do you think, man? Like, what's your score prediction for this game? Because I'm torn on this one, but I'm interested to see what you're going to say.
I love and hate this game for very different reasons. I love this game because of the matchups. I love this game because of the superstar headlines that come from it, the quarterbacks that are playing, Matthew Stafford with the history he's had in Detroit. But I also hate this game because I think that these are two teams that can really give Green Bay a run for their money. And now they're getting ready to cancel each other out. I like your prediction. You have 27-24 Rams. I want to say the same thing, but Tampa Bay instead.
Okay. I'll take that.
I really think Tampa Bay will squeak this one out by the same score line, and I'm really watching the odds for this one. I may bet on that one. We'll see.
This is Matt Stafford's year. So even if he comes back and plays for the Rams, there's going to be tape on him. And there's plenty of tape of him in Detroit, but he doesn't have the offensive weapons, and he didn't have the defense, certainly, that he has with this team.
Exactly.
This is the Rams' year. They need to win. They can play home at the Super Bowl, and I think that matters if you're trying to get revenue for a brand new stadium. You're trying to promote people going to the stadium, so maybe they can buy some Chargers tickets while they're over there. It's a huge game for them. I think the Rams, I'm going to pick them to win, although I hate fucking picking against Tom Brady. I'm just going off of what I want to see happen, and I do think the Tristan Wirfs injury, if he's not back and he's not healthy, I think that's significant for their offensive line. I think it's a crack in the armor.
Definitely an X factor in terms of whether or not they'll be able to keep Tom Brady protected, for sure.
All right, so let's do the breakdown from ESPN real quick on this game. So 65.8% in favor of Tampa Bay, and then the line is set at -2.5 with an over-under of 48. So, I mean, 24-20, 27-24, that seems to
absolutely
be the consensus there. I wouldn't hate it if you bet on the Rams, I guess, but you're betting against Tom Brady in that offense, and that concerns me.
Exactly. I could never, even if I were going to put my money on Stafford with the momentum that the Rams have, the way that they handily dismantled the Cardinals, I still could not put myself in a position to bet against Tom Brady's success.
My mentality is, I'm picking the Rams because fuck them. That's why.
I hear you. That's a good pick, though. It's a solid pick. This one's up in the air. This one's truly up in the air for me.
Yeah, and it's crazy because everyone on ESPN is like, "Oh, the Bucs are at home. Like, obviously they're gonna." But I don't know. This Rams team, they're definitely NFC caliber competition, and I wouldn't take them lightly whether you're home or away. So that wraps up that one. You've got the Bucs. I got the Rams. This will be interesting.
Can't go against TB12, baby.
This is the game I really want to get.
Yes, sir.
49ers at Packers, Sunday, 8:00 at night. I'm going to do the ESPN stuff first. 64.6% think that Green Bay is going to win, and the spread is at -5.5 with an over-under of 47. It's supposed to be really fucking cold in Lambeau. It's going to be 12 degrees out. I don't know if that matters much for the Packers, but it may matter for San Francisco. There's interesting recent history between these two teams that I think needs to be talked about. So here we go. This is all in the Aaron Rodgers era. You ready for this?
Let's get into it, baby. Let's get into it.
So in 2020, the 49ers beat the Packers 37-20 in the NFC Championship game. They basically got run all over by Raheem Mostert. And at one point, the 49ers had like a 27-0 lead in that game. I mean, they basically just completely blew them out. 2019, the previous year, the 49ers beat the Packers 31-8 on Sunday Night Football. Green Bay was 8-2. San Fran was 9-1 at the time. So there's that in the regular season. In 2014, the 49ers beat the Packers 23-20 in the NFC wildcard round. In 2013, the 49ers beat the Packers 45-31 in the NFC Divisional round. And that was the game where Colin Kaepernick just was like, he went ballistic, dude. 181 yards on the ground, 268 in the air, and he threw 2 touchdown passes and rushed for 2 touchdown passes. Colin Kaepernick was absurd. Yeah, that was absurd. And then that same year, in the regular season, the season opener, the 49ers beat the Packers 34-28. There is overwhelming evidence to suggest that maybe the 49ers have something when it comes to the Packers. Am I off base with that? Or is that
not at all? That San Francisco should win this game based on the history alone. However, you're talking about a season, and even more so, a team in the Green Bay Packers, another 13+ win season. They get their first round bye. They've been chilling since the last season, week of the season. And this time they're in Green Bay. Of course, being a Bears fan, I have to make that tag. I'm always going to be a San Francisco fan when it comes time for the playoffs because they always seem to play the Packers. However, I think that Aaron Rodgers and even more so the entire Packers squad this season really have a mission in mind to finish with a ring on their fingers. And so this is going to be a very interesting game. Hopefully it doesn't come down to field goals and dink and dunks, but we shall definitely see.
And there's reasons to believe that. I'm not saying that the Packers, if somebody told me I'm putting money on the Packers in this game, I would say, yeah, that's probably the safe bet. But there's enough history here to suggest that maybe it's not as straightforward as we're making it out to be. Here's some stats for this game. You ready for this? When Jimmy G throws an interception, the 49ers are 2-6. Do you know this guy, this linebacker there, Devondre Campbell? 145 tackles. The next closest guy had less than 100. I mean, this guy's unreal. He kind of came out of nowhere, this Devondre Campbell guy. But he's getting a little more action because he's been balling out the past few weeks. Do you want to hear something that's going to depress you? Aaron Rodgers in his last 7 games. Take a guess what his touchdown interception ratio is. Take a guess. Take a guess.
20-0. No, I saw it. I looked it up and I couldn't believe it because it's one of those things where, of course, you hate this guy, but you cannot hate greatness. It's an internal conflict that I've had for many, many years, as long as Aaron Rodgers has been playing. The day he took over for Brett Favre, and it's just one of those things where it's like, hey, man, you hate the guy, but you can't deny what he's been doing. 20-0 in the last 7 games, not 1 interception. Something to be said about that. Something to be said about that for sure.
The way you feel about Aaron Rodgers is the way I'm probably going to feel about Joe Burrow in like 5 or 10 years, maybe even sooner.
More than likely,
playing.
More than likely, that's your new Big Ben in the AFC East, man. That's scary.
Yeah, it is scary. I don't like it at all. But we don't have to talk about my insecurities, okay? We're talking about
we're talking about mine.
The Packers right now, so let's not.
We're talking about mine. Okay, good.
Even though I brought it up. The Packers are 7-0 this year if Devontae Adams gets 100+ receiving yards.
Once again, one of those things where I really think that there has to be a huge focus on double teaming Devontae from the jump. Of course, you're going to have to keep a spy on Lazard. Any one of these wide receivers can hurt you in a big way if you let them get traction. I don't know that the 49ers are prepared for that defensively. Like I said, I think this is a different Packers team in the sense of, yeah, you had 13 wins last season, but you also got 28-0 by halftime by Garoppolo. And not even Garoppolo, but more so the entire run game. Now you're moving into 13 plus wins this season, and you're talking about being 7-0 when Devontae gets 100 plus. Aaron being 20-0 for touchdowns to interceptions in his last 7 games. It's a different Green Bay team. And once again, I hate gushing about them, but you have to acknowledge greatness when it comes to the NFL. This is one of those teams that will surprise a lot of people and end up in the Super Bowl, I think.
Green Bay, yeah. I mean, they're my pick to go from the NFC. And that's even with Tom Brady in the field. I just feel like they're rolling right now. And there's not a whole lot that can stop them. Like,
not a whole lot.
I will say it's kind of weird because George Kittle hasn't really been involved with the 49ers offense too much. He's kind of had a bunch of down games. And here's something about the Packers I found out. Not a whole lot of penalties. They were the least penalized team on offense this year, and they were tied for 4th on defense. And I don't know if I can say the same thing for the 49ers. I think the 49ers, they had a lot of penalties last week against Dallas, and Dallas sort of shot themselves in the foot, right? They had, I think, a ton of penalties, and 4 of them, I know for a fact, resulted in first downs. So it's like Dallas was just worse. That was the only thing with that. So what's your score prediction for this game? We've covered it pretty well. I love this because who are you going to pick? Are you going to betray all the Bears fans out there? And are you going to pick the Green Bay Packers to win this game, sir? Are you really going to do that? Are you prepared for that?
Absolutely not. Never in a million years will I ever pick the Green Bay Packers to win.
Why not?
If I'm being realistic, yes, I have to pick the Packers. And this is not one of those games where, if the Packers win this game, they're winning. But it is, unfortunately. And you look at the Rams and the Buccaneers, I really wish that it didn't come down to those two because you're looking at two very strong teams, one of which will not make it to where I feel like they should make it. Hopefully it's not the Rams because I really like the momentum that they've had. They got a lot of young players, a lot of people that are hungry for success. I think Tom can sit out for a year. I think so. I think that's fair. But at the end of the day, this is a Packers team that scares me for a lot of reasons when it comes to the postseason, more so than just Aaron Rodgers and what he's able to do with the ball.
Well, and with Aaron Rodgers, though, he's got a chip on his shoulder from this year because of all the COVID stuff that he's been through. He's become like this weird spokesperson and I don't think that was
like a pariah.
Intention. I just think a lot of attention was brought to the fact that he misled some people about his vaccination status. If the Packers are 7-0 this year, when Devontae Adams gets 100 plus yards, I think that is a recipe for success for them. I don't think he can be double teamed easily.
Successfully, no.
He's got all the answers, man. His route running is so smooth. It is so smooth to watch. And it is just like corners are just left completely baffled by this motherfucker. And I would be too. The way he runs routes is just, it's so crisp and so clean. And Jimmy Garoppolo, the last game, like I said, he had a subpar performance and his offensive line was sticking up for him. If he throws a pick in Lambeau,
it's over.
If he's 2-6 every time he throws a pick, what's more likely? Two things are extremely likely. Devontae Adams is going to get 100 receiving yards and Jimmy Garoppolo will throw a pick. I'm going to change my prediction on this. I'm going to go 34-21 Packers. I think it's going to be
that's a lot more. Yeah, that's a lot more like how this San Francisco team can show up, how they've been showing up. And like I said, I think their win against Dallas was more of a reflection on Dallas than it was them. And you're going up against a very hungry Green Bay team. You're going up against a very chippy Green Bay team, like you spoke about with Aaron Rodgers. And you're going into Lambeau Field, which has almost always been its own factor for the other team. Unless you're playing in the cold like Buffalo or New England or even Philly, you're not prepared to play in sub 10 degree weather. It's not.
Or if you're Tom Brady.
He went in there. It's not something that you're successful at or you're readily successful at. You're playing against one of the greatest quarterbacks that has ever played the game. So.
Wow, that was very contrite of you. You really, I know that took a lot for you to say.
I'm dying on the inside, Ben.
Man, I saw it like your soul sort of left a little bit. I haven't seen that since the Navy. Oh my gosh. That's actually, I saw it watching the Bengals Raiders game. where
Yeah, all
Joe
the
with
Ravens
the
fans.
phantom whistle when he threw it out of bounds. I told my co-host on Block Squawk, I was like, for the next 20 years, this is going to be my life. It's going to be watching Joe
That's
Burrow.
a meme right there for the next 20 years in terms of being a Ravens fan.
Yeah, and then with what's going on with the Browns too, who knows if Baker's back? You could have another new quarterback in there.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And unfortunately, I like Baker, but I think his time may be done in Cleveland. That's for another podcast, though.
Seems like it. All right. Hey, Josh, that's it. Those are the games. So we both have the Packers, and then you've got the Bucs, and I got the Rams.
I'm taking the Bucs over the Rams. You're in Tampa Bay playing against Tom Brady. I think he'll do what he needs to do to secure that win. I'll take the 49ers. I'll take the 49ers.
Why are you taking the? What are you doing?
I can't, man. I can't.
Why?
I know the. I know
is it the list of games that they won that I distracted you with? That was all a distraction. That was smoke and mirrors, Josh. You didn't hear the statistics I was throwing out there?
And that's what a real pick for me. A real pick for me will be Green Bay. You can't ignore the stats. You can't ignore Devontae Adams' skill set. Like you said, he's very, very difficult to double team successfully. It doesn't matter what you throw against him. He's proven that he's going to get past it successfully. So, I don't think the Packers. I'm sorry, I don't think the 49ers have enough to stop this very hot Packers team, especially in Lambeau.
Here's something too.
Like Green Bay.
You want to hear a Nick Bosa stat that's kind of crazy this year, and this is why his injury is pretty significant. When Nick Bosa gets more than a half of a sack in a game, the 49ers are 10-3.
You talk about how impactful an offensive lineman can be, and even more so an end. That's scary. That's very scary. But then again, what's that record with those stats against the Packers?
I'm not sure. I will say this. I think not having him in the lineup it's a massive loss. And we really have to watch that injury and see where they go with that, because they're going to need all the guys they can get if they want to go after Aaron Rodgers, who at 37, 38.
Want to say?
Pretty mobile still.
Very mobile.
Get in the end zone and still run in. How about that as a bet for this game? So do you think over under on Aaron Rodgers rushing touchdowns? Do you think he runs for one today or on Sunday? I think he does.
I think he'll get two. And I say that after the dismantling of the 49ers in the first half. I really think that they'll really find their stride after halftime, get comfortable, and just really start opening up on them. I say two. I definitely see him going for two. Running for two at least.
Well, I mean, they've got Aaron Jones out there, so there's no real he can find a target in a running back as well. And that run game is unbelievable. I mean, that offense is just Marcus.
You're looking at a team.
Scantling. Oh gosh.
You're looking at a team that in every possible position, they either have a top 10 or a top 5 player. And it's scary to think that this team was 13 wins and it was kind of quiet this season, Unless you watch the Packers, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of attention was paid towards his personal life where he was going to end up. Like, even now, people are talking about if Aaron Rodgers is going to come back to Green Bay. I think he does. Why would he leave? He's got a coach that lets him do whatever he wants to do. He's got his favorite player that he's ever played with, and Devontae Adams is still there, and they have no intention of getting rid of him. He's played there his entire career. I don't know. Why would he leave? Where is the grass greener, I guess, is my question. If he does,
absolutely
wants to leave.
I don't think that he leaves. I think that there's a lot of restructuring that has to go on with him in the front office. I think that's the biggest piece. And of course, that's going to be a huge factor whether or not I want to come back. But no, for all intents and purposes, I think Aaron Rodgers returns to Green Bay next year.
Yeah, and I don't know whether contracts are going to be involved with that too. We'll see how much money he wants to get paid going forward, because it seems to be the way of success. And if you want to win a Super Bowl, Tom Brady takes pay cuts and restructures his salary against the cap all the time so that they can keep specialty guys there. I feel like Aaron Rodgers would do that if the guy was Devontae Adams or Alan Lazard. Like, he's been vocal about guys that they have gotten rid of in the past that they should have kept. Jordy Nelson. He was pissed off that Jordy Nelson left. He was mad that AJ Hawk left on defense.
Absolutely.
And when he ended up bouncing around to, I think he went to Cincinnati and he went somewhere else as well. But it'll be interesting what his leverage will be in his contract negotiations. Like, because there is a very real possibility he could leave, but like, where would he go? Where would he go that would be?
Why would he want to with everything that's lined up the way that it is? Yeah, no, he doesn't have a need to. But like you said, how much money is he going to request? And at this point, he's worth.
Yeah, if he wins 2 rings, he's already in the conversation for easily top 10, and a lot of people have him in the top 5. I don't think that's ridiculous to say. If he wins another ring, nobody's going to be able to say anything to him. You know, like all the criticism that's leveled against him and all the personal stuff that was happening in his life this year is just like, it all ends up being noise. Everybody always looks dumb when it comes to them because, no offense, I hate to talk about your rival like this, but remember in like the early year where they lost a game, everyone's like, oh, has Aaron Rodgers lost a step? Has the offseason stuff got to him? And it's like, he went 14-3.
He doesn't have a real need, I don't think, to leave. He doesn't have a desire to leave based on what shows up on the field, based on what's in the locker room. But then again, you don't play with your offensive coordinator. You don't play with your head coach. These are guys that you have to deal with post and, pre-game. So a lot of factors that go into that one. I don't see him leaving. However, he's going to look for a lot of money.
And his beef seems to be with the general manager anyway. Kuntz. It doesn't seem like him and LaFleur have any issues with.
No, I think he's vocally spoken in favor of LaFleur, if I'm not correct. So.
Yeah. And let me say something real quick about the NFC North before we get out of here, because
yes, sir,
this is the Chi-Town Charm City podcast. I got to talk about
absolutely, baby.
Right? The NFC North was a lot tougher than I think people give it credit for this year. The Vikings are always going to be fucked up because they have Kirk Cousins as your quarterback, and I'm sorry, I know he played really well this year, but I saw enough in Washington, and I just don't think he's a guy that can take you to the next level. That might be a cold take here in a couple of years. Who knows? Fully guaranteed contract, though, so good for him. You've got the Bears who are in transition. Literally, you just got rid of Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. You've got a young quarterback. There's reasons for optimism in Chicago. And then Detroit this year, I thought Detroit played really well, considering I know what their record says, but they really played Campbell. And on the Ravens side of things, we needed a 66-yard field goal to beat that team. I mean, they hung in there. They beat a lot. They tied with the Steelers. The Steelers are a playoff team. It'll be interesting to see what will happen with the Lions. I mean, history tells us that they're going to be terrible, but
the NFC North has historically been called the black and blue division for that reason. Yeah. Heavy defense impact and focus on Chicago's side. Brett Favre having the success that he had in Green Bay. Kirk Cousins is a game manager at best. I think he can keep you in that game. He can keep it exciting. You feel like they should have had a lot more with the roster that they show up with every week. So the Lions, it's hard for me to talk about them. It's hard for me to talk about them because they've been irrelevant in terms of competition. But like you said, they were in a lot of these games this past season, even though the record doesn't reflect as such. So
I just look at the Lions and I think, wow, this team was significantly better than Jacksonville was this year. Like if I had to look at and that's crazy because I love Trevor Lawrence, but if I were to just look at the teams and how they performed, I don't know. I thought Detroit played a lot better than I thought they were going to, but they're nowhere close to the playoffs, unfortunately.
Not at all. Not at 1-10-1.
Year we're in now. So
exactly.
What are you going to do? Maybe they'll be there in the next 10, 20 years. Josh, it was great talking to you. This is a great place to wrap it up. Thank you so much for the subscribers who are listening out there. If you want to catch the AFC playoff preview and picture, you can go over to Flock Squawk. And we have the AFC breakdown over on that side. We just did the NFC breakdown here at Chi-Town and Charm City. And thank you all for listening. And we'll see you after the divisional round where we're going to break down the AFC. Well, on this podcast, we're going to break down the NFC championship game. Who knows? And from what we have right now, I've got the Rams playing Green Bay, and you've got Green Bay playing Tampa Bay. Man, Green Bay, Tampa Bay.
Do you hear me? Battle of the Bays, baby. Battle of the Bays.
Holy shit, that'd be a blast. All right, Josh, it was great talking to you, man. Do you have anything else? Anything to say to the people?
No, just tune in. Keep tuning in to Chi-Town and Charm City, baby. We're only ever going to get better.